bit of an opinion on a fairly hot topic now, which is the psystar open computer. And after watching a few vids on the subject, I wanted to chime in and, like I said, give my opinion. Some of you may like what I have to say, some of you may not, but here it goes. First thing that I wanted to do is go over the Leopard user license agreement. And under Section 2, a real brief statement that says, you agree not to install, use, or run the Apple software on any non-Apple labeled computer or to enable others to do so. I think that's pretty clear cut. Whether psystar said, I know they claim that they have a legal defense. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to really go any further on that. The other thing I wanted to do, because I know some of you will not really like my opinions coming up, this is how legal I am, at least, with Apple. You can see there is 3 Leopard, 2 single and 1 family. Needed to get all that basically to legally install Leopard on all my Macs that I own. The other thing is, because I know everybody is now talking about picking sides, and I'm not really of that mindset. Developer connections and my official membership. Okay, so now that we've established, and most of you already know that I'm a programmer by hobby, trade, by living, whatever you want to call it. That's what I do. So that really leads me into the software side of things, which is going to lead me into OS 10 and why I would like to see OS 10 stay on the psystar computer. Mr. Bit just said that. Well, yes, it is illegal currently, in my legal expertise, which is none, but I say it is illegal. It is up to Apple to enforce what they have stipulated as a legal license agreement in terms of where Leopard should be installed. So really this is just an opinion, if it were so. Many like to argue hardware, this and that and other stuff, and I will continue to say that Apple hardware, while there is internal workings of the main board to the chip, it's not so much the same as the good old days of the PowerPC and the RISC chips. And I make no bones about it, those are the chips that I preferred. I keep, everybody who knows me, I bring up RISC chips all the time. But anyway, setting that aside, people make great strides and arguments to say that Leopard shouldn't be installed on a beige box. I know that they're reiterating what Steve Jobs had said in criticism of Dell. But really, consumers are consumers, and I'm not going to go and actually very much disagree with Walmart or white trash PCs and things like that. I'm not going to put any consumer into that pool, because consumers for themselves are really the best at what they should buy for their own money and what they want to buy. So if somebody can only afford $300, that's what they're going to afford. There was a time that I couldn't even afford a $300 computer, and I just my first computer was really put together by secondhand parts that people said, yeah, sure, have it. So I don't put people in that stratification, if you will. But why do I like, or why would I like to see OS 10 stay with psystar and grow from there? And quite frankly, because to me, it's all about OS 10. While I love Apple hardware and made it very clear that Apple is the only OEM manufacturer that I will purchase hardware from, other than that, to build my own, I don't think that allowing Leopard on psystar or any other clone out there would take away Apple hardware sales. The people that buy Apple hardware do so for many reasons, because they are consumers that have already deemed Apple gives them the best value for their money, and the reasons could be from very high quality, support, design, technological advancement, so on. I don't need to do the gaming on that because I have plenty of videos supporting Apple hardware. But again, I don't see the pervading of OS X outside of Apple labeled products hurting Apple hardware. After all, we do have HP, Dell, Gateway, and many others that compete in the PC non-Apple PC market, and they're all fighting over licensing of Windows. So if all of them pretty much are competing very healthily, why would Apple fail and start losing hardware sales? It doesn't make sense to me. People who are going to buy Apple hardware again are going to buy Apple hardware. But that then leads me back to this psystar thing. We now have a new outreach of Apple software on non-Apple hardware, which I believe firmly will simply increase OS X market share. And that's really what I'm heavily after, is getting OS X out there more so. And if that means that we can have legal licenses of Leopard on non-Apple hardware, so be it. And I'm all for it. I can really stomach getting past the vanity arguments of it's Leopard on a beige box, to be quite frank. I'm a developer, as I've already established. I mean, I also, like in previous vids, program for Windows here. I've got actually 3 applications, one in Java, and I have VB and then .NET, currently running. And I love the Xcode tools. I think the Apple development atmosphere is very easy and friendly with all the new tools that they've provided, and are not as limiting and demanding in terms of forcing their clients, in my opinion, like .NET did, and pretty much ruining open scripting programmers like myself and forcing them into a proprietary environment. But that's another video on itself, and I digress. But let's get back to OS X and Leopard. I'm a developer that wants to develop for OS X because my mission is to try to fill in that void or that gap that the Macintosh first experienced when it lost market share to other PCs in terms of its lack of applications. So that's what I try to do, is give as many applications to OS X so people want it more. And if OS X is out there on more machines other than the Apple 1-to-1 ratio of a hardware for software, in other words, an Apple machine, we are going to get more demand. And that's more places as a developer where my product can be purchased to be used on those OS X versions. And it is, if it is allowed to be legal, another purchase, and money's going to Apple for the purchase of the actual operating system. I don't really see any harm in that. So, really to conclude, because time is going on, I don't see Apple hardware sales declining by letting Leopard being licensed legally on other PCs, quite frankly, because the demographics that is likely to hit we're probably never going to buy Apple hardware, and allow other Apple developers, Apple itself, to sell more licenses of OS X and get their operating system out there even more so. Because really most of the arguments that I see from Mac users who are very, very loyal to Apple are attacking Windows. Well, Windows is not hardware. Windows is software. And in my opinion, if somebody wants to borrow that coined phrase, you fight fire with fire, you fight software with software. And the only way to do that is to claim more hardware machines instead of keeping the 1-to-1 ratio to Apple hardware. So that's just my opinion. It is, in my opinion, not legal for psystar to do what they are doing. I will leave it up to the courts on what to decide. I will say that I hope that Apple doesn't enforce it. I hope that Apple just sits there and says, okay, it's time to let OS X pervade beyond Apple hardware and start getting larger market share for their operating system. Thanks for watching.